kind of random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another bonus episode of Hip Hop Now Podcast, brought to you by the producers of Hip Hop Now Podcast over at patreon.com/Hip Hop Now. If you would like to become a producer, get bonus episodes like this in advance of everybody else hearing it, or merch, or, and probably most importantly, have a say in the creation and evolution of this very podcast. Now, you saw the cover. You saw the title. You know, if you listen to this podcast on a regular basis, if you know Vegas, I don't really like doing top fives and top tens and stuff like that. Not because a brother can't commit to a list, but primarily because my list change order all of the time. Mainly because, you know, I'm a hip hop fan, right? And there's perspectives on some of these lists. And sometimes, you know, you think about something later and you're like, you know, that should be number one. But today, we're not going to do none of that. We're going to get right into the business. My top 10, or should I say Hip Hop Now Podcast's top 10 greatest diss records of all time. Now, do not get upset if one of your favorite diss records does not appear, because it is not your list. But you can share your list with me via Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. Just follow me at VegasWorldINC. But let me give you my thought process as far as what this top 10 list should be. Like, what's greatest to me? Well, obviously, some MCs are better than others. That's not what this list is. This list is purely off of impact, right? Competition, you know, the moment, right? Timing, all of those things. And when I say impact, not just, oh, you know, everybody thought it was crazy, blah, 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 blah. Not just that, but also what it did to the other person. Now, this is not going to be the case for every track, but there's some heaters up here. Real hip hop heads, you should know. You should be able to knock down at least 6 off my list just off of memory. So let's get into it. Number 10, Pusha T, son of Adon or Adidon, whatever Drake's son's name is. I put this at number 10 because it was one of those tracks, one of those diss records that hit most fans so heavy, you almost had to pause it when you heard that Drake had a son. Now, if you're from the future, you already know Drake has a son. But there was a point in time in history where we did not know. And Drake and Pusha T were having this back and forth situation, diss record situation. And I remember when Pusha T first threw some darts, and I was like, Drake don't want that smoke. But then Drake came back with a diss record that was pretty hot. But most people forgot about it because of this record. Because most people had to pause the record and say, wait a minute, Drake has a child? And not only is Pusha T talking about Drake revealing to us, to the world, that Drake has a son, but also revealing, or maybe this was a part of the diss side of things, right? Can't confirm. But basically saying, why you hiding your son? Why you ashamed of your son and who you got pregnant? You know what I'm saying? You what? Bring that boy out. It was really, you talk about impact. Drake didn't respond. Now, I know he had a response, but it wouldn't have mattered. It's good that Jay Prince told him, yeah, don't do that. We don't want to go there. And honestly, if I was to take a guess, I think it was probably really emotionally driven. And there's nothing you can say. This man done outed you having a kid, the biggest star in the world. One of the best diss records of all time, honestly. Number 9, MC Lyte 10% Diss. Now, if you're a hip hop fan, whether you were around back then or not, you already know MC Lyte. But do you know Antoinette? You probably don't. Some of us do. She was hot at one time back in the day. Called herself, being like, back in the day, yeah, I'm number one, I'm the late, all these other chicks. One of those. But she had dope music. But then MC Lyte put out 10% Diss, calling her a beat biter. And for this time, for MC female, let me say femc on femc crime, we never heard from Antoinette again. Now, I know she responded, I believe, but it didn't matter. 10% Diss was just a dope record. Just so happens she was destroying someone at the same time. And it's crazy because MC Lyte obviously already had the cachet. Antoinette was kind of like, oh, another dope female MC. But when MC Lyte dropped her diss record, some people didn't even know it was a diss record, even though it says 10% diss. You know what I'm saying? They just thought this record is hot from MC Lyte. And it was. But again, Antoinette's career ended. And it's not like she had 10 albums before that. She had a hot record for the most part. Her career ended after that. Now, when I say ended, for those who don't know, that doesn't mean, right, she got dropped from the label, album never came out, shell, blah, blah, blah. It just destroyed any buzz she had. It took her career and took it off the tracks of success from which she was headed. But that's how impactful MC Lyte's diss record was at the time. Because again, it's something special when it's a diss record, but it's also just a dope hip hop record. You know what I mean? You don't even have to know who she's dissing. It's just that dope. Number 8, Drake, Back to Back. Now, I remember before when this came out, some people, you know how y'all do. You like to jump out the window with your comments. Greatest diss record of all time. No, it's not. But it is one of the greatest records of all time. And this record has less to do with technical skill and more to do with timing and just catchphrases. Girl tour, your world tour, Twitter fingers. We've been waiting all week. Where y'all at? You know what I'm saying? Riding through Philly on the AR app. If you don't know who Drake was dissing, because don't get on them, y'all. Some people just don't. He was dissing Meek Mill. You know, there was a situation. Meek Mill was feeling some kind of way about Drake, I guess, not supporting his latest album, right? Had things to say, trying to go at Drake. Drake put out a diss record that we don't even remember. You know why? Because as we waited a week for Meek Mill to respond to that record, Drake dropped Back to Back. And Back to Back made you forget about the first record Drake made about Meek. Because Drake tapped into what we all were thinking. I know at the time, I was still doing this podcast, and I was like, there's no way Drake beats Meek Mill in a battle. Just like I said with Pusha T, no way. And so what happened with that? But I was like, no way he beats Meek Mill in the battle. Meek Mill comes from battle rap. Like, that's what he do. But we all were waiting like, well, where that record at? Where that response to Drake at? And Drake with perfect timing, presence within the moment, right? Perfectly timed. Dropped it. Everybody was thinking it anyway. And we've been waiting a whole week. Where y'all at? Back to back. 2 diss records for you while we wait for your one. Classic moment in hip hop. And it can't be denied, honestly. Number 7. Common, The Bitch in You. Now, I remember with this, I didn't even know where this was coming from, to be honest, when I first heard it. For those who know me, y'all already know. Born and raised off of Ice Cube. Death Certificate, my favorite album. Ice Cube, one of the dopest runs, let's say 4-album run. One of the dopest 4-album runs in the hip hop game. Right? From his solo debut. Will appear on this list a little bit later, if you know what I mean. But when he joined Westside Connection, and I felt like they were taking shots at my city. Now, later on, he cleaned it up and said it was really about the radio stations in New York. Okay, whatever. But at the time, you weren't clear. You were dissing my city. So me as a fan, I feel some kind of way about that. So I didn't really want to hear whatever Westside Connection had to say. But I knew they were dissing certain people. One, including people like Common. You want to talk about a record from Common and, from what I understand, produced by P. Rock. You want to talk about a record that so clearly separates MCs from rappers. And they tried. But Common said, something like, got no other choice but to fight because none of y'all motherfuckers got a chance on the mic. Like, we all knew that to be facts. Slanging St. Ides and bean pies in the same sentence. Ooh, that's facts. I like that record, but damn, Common, chill. It was complete dismantling handicap match. But the crazy part is it's 3 of them and only 1 of Common. But the handicap is reversed. He's too nice for these cats. There is no answer to this. There was none. And if there was, no one cared because Common destroyed them. Number 6, Cannabis, 2nd round knockout. Man, this one was one that I started to think, all right, LL, you got a history of battling. For the most part, we felt like you've won most of your battles, right? Kumo D and all of that. We feel like you've won most of your battles. But this is one you shouldn't get involved with. LL taking offense to Cannabis in 4321, saying, yo, let me borrow that mic on your arm, and really kind of going at him in the same song, changing his verse to go at him. Wow. Big mistake, because this was at a time where Cannabis was white hot. There was no rhyme he put out at that time that wasn't crazy. Some of it was the greatest stuff we had ever heard at that time. It just was. And 2nd round KO featuring Mike Tyson, right? Talking eat, all that. Forget that. Battle you in front of your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd born. Tell your moms get on the horn, call Minister Farrakhan. Man, oh my God. I was like, this is a complete destruction of the GOAT. That's a story for later. But complete destruction. Now, of course, LL responded. He's LL. He get into the battles. But his response was more humorous to me. But it wasn't 2nd round knockout. My God. I mean, I can hear that beat now. I'm going to let the world. Oh, my God. If you've never heard that, and I just gave you some context. Please go listen. Like, man, 90% of your fans wear high heels. Like, ooh, cannabis was getting busy. Number 5, Tupac Hit Him Up. Now, there's somebody out there, well, this should be higher. No, it shouldn't. Because what we got? One verse from Tupac, and probably the talking was almost just as good as the verse from him. But that's why it's number 5. At this point in time, me hearing that record for the first time in Brooklyn, in a record store, hearing that intro, I was like, what is this? Tupac playing off of the Players Anthem, you know what I'm saying? Hook, changing it to grab your Glocks when you see Tupac, call the cops when you see Tupac. And then the verse just saying things about artists that directly, let's make it clear, directly. Because there was a little bit of time in between some of those older diss records and Hit 'Em Up. Hit 'Em Up was grimy, direct. It even included people we didn't even know Tupac had a beef with. We expected him to talk about Biggie and Junior Mafia and Puffy. Well, he's talking about Mobb Deep and Chino XL, and it's like, whoa, Tupac, slow down, man. This is overload. The impact of that record was ridiculous. Mind you, Biggie, Bad Boy is just as big as Death Row. This is the height of these record labels' success. Some might say, oh, definitely for Death Row, it was the peak. But Bad Boy had rose to a level of equality, and it wasn't declining. Not at that time, not at all. But man, you talk about a record that just turns heads because you can't believe it's happening when you're listening to it. Like, what? Wait, did he say his name? Did he say he boned his wife? Tupac is a legend for that one. Because again, he said his name. No subliminals, no guesstimates, direct competition. And I know me as a Biggie fan, Biggie's my favorite rapper. I respected that, and I like that a lot because Tupac was like, yeah, forget the subliminals. We won't say it. You know what I'm saying? You can't deny something like that. Number 4, Boogie Down Productions, The Bridge Is Over. Honestly, this is one of the original song diss records. Let me get it right, diss records. That not only put an end to a popular rapper at the time in MC Shan, but put a whole projects on pause when it came to hip hop. Can you imagine that? Queensbridge was hot. It was like the MC Shan's The Bridge kind of put them on the map. Like, oh, we don't know The Bridge now. Those who know me know I know The Bridge in a different way, right? But this, Queensbridge is like, that record, The Bridge, one of the greatest records of all time in hip hop, one of the greatest beats of all time, just never gets old. Classic. But The Bridge Is Over, that beat, freaking the reggae rhythm, the dancehall rhythm flow, direct dismantling of not only MC Shan. MC Shan was hot, y'all. He was hot. KRS-One was different. This record was different. This record was like, you doing hip hop, and that's cool. But we not only doing the hip hop, we raising the bar for lyricism. MC Shan couldn't even recover from that. Never recovered from that. He just didn't, y'all. And MC Shan isn't Antoinette. People will remember MC Shan. People will remember the dope music that MC Shan did. But they also will remember that the bridge is over, and no one hot came out of Queensbridge until Nas. Now, there's no disrespect to Tragedy. But as far as MC Shan's status was really big, Tragedy's wasn't. It wasn't poor, it was just not on that level. Nas is on that MC Shan level, if not above. But there was a huge gap between the bridge is over and when we finally got Illmatic. It was like, oh, Queensbridge. Yeah. Used to be dope back in the days. They got new rappers now. Number 3. Jay-Z's The Takeover. Now, I say this because, again, this is similar to Tupac's Hit 'Em Up. We know Jay-Z dismantled Mobb Deep on this record. He didn't say the Lock's name, but I kill you ants with a sledgehammer. Don't make me do it till you're done because I overdo it so you won't confuse it with just rap music. ROC, we run it. Come on, man. That beat, nasty. But what made it doper is like, you guys don't want it with Hov. Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hov. Ooh, he doing the Tupac. Enough of the subliminals. Jay-Z sat in it. What? And we all knew Nas was coming off Nostradamus, and we all were looking at each other like, I think the party's over, y'all. Jay-Z's verse about Nas is so crazy and classic that I was convinced there's no coming back from that. Timing, impact, Jay-Z's status in the rap game was much higher than Nas's, right? Because Jay-Z was putting out not only dope music, but he was also top of the charts. He couldn't miss with the hits. He couldn't miss with the albums. His streak was ridiculous. You guys don't want it with Hov. Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hov. Man, what can Nas do? And the lines, yeah, sampled your voice, you was using it wrong. You made it a hot line. I made it a hot song. And you ain't get a coin. You was getting, I know who I paid, God. Searchlight Publishing. Use your brains. You said you've been in it 10, I've been in it 5. Smarten up, Nas. 10 albums in what? 5 hours? What did he say? 4 albums in 10 years? I can divide. Let's say 2. 2 of them shits do. One was, the other was Illmatic. That's a one hot album every 10-year average. I'm telling y'all, that's not even the tip of the iceberg. But when I heard that, I was like, this is not only a murder we're witnessing, it's also a wake, a funeral, a memorial, and any other thing, a resurrection. It was everything, y'all. Literally, one of the greatest diss records of all time. The momentum, the impact was designed to stomp Nas out for good. Do what MC Lyte did to Antoinette. Do what KRS-One did to MC Shan. This was like the Bridge is Over Part 2. Number 2, Ice Cube, No Vaseline. If y'all know me, Death Certificate is my favorite album of all time, hands down. It's not no competition. It just had that sort of impact on me, and I love it from the first track to the last track. But I remember, as a kid, not paying attention. I saw No Vaseline on there, but I didn't pay attention because I was just, engrossed in what I was listening to. And I thought the album was over until I heard Ice Cube like whispering and say, yo, forgot to do this. And then you hear this, you hear the different snippets from NWA dissing Ice Cube, the callers or the fake callers or whatever that was calling in dissing Ice Cube, him making a skit before the record drop. Here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you. And you like, what is going on? Like, is Ice Cube getting ready to address NWA dissing him? Now, for those who don't know, who are new, Ice Cube, especially if you didn't see the movie, Ice Cube used to be a part of NWA. He left. Contractual dispute. He left. Because he left the group and also went to work with East Coast producers, NWA dissed him heavily. Like, the dissing on that second album, their only album after that, was ridiculous. Benedict Arnold, everything. Calling him everything. You want to talk about a man dismantling a group? NWA never made another album after that. NWA has 2 classic albums, in my opinion. But after Death Certificate and No Vaseline, that was it. He dismantled, he talked about everyone in the group. He took the time to say, Yella, I'm going to talk about you. Dre, I'm going to talk about you. Easy, I'm going to talk about you. So don't believe what Ren say, because he going out like Kunta Kinte. But I got a Ren for you, Toby. Used to be my homie, now you act like you don't know me. Man, listen. I can't even repeat, because this is a family podcast, but I can't repeat half the stuff being said on that record. Even dissing their manager. Talking about at a time, right, where most rappers had their deals, had their trash deals, and didn't really put that stuff in record. And we didn't really know. Ice Cube not only talking about why he left in this record, but saying how they're getting jerked and Eazy-E is jerking them. Man, listen, it's something special when one man can basically put an end, break up one of the greatest groups in hip-hop history off of one diss record. He took 1 against 4 or 5 or however many of them was left at the time. No one can save them from that diss record. DOC couldn't write something for him. Ren couldn't. NWA didn't respond with an NWA diss record either. You know, they broke up. Dr. Dre kind of responded on the Chronic, but Ice Cube was also in a video from the Chronic, so they squashed it at the same time. But No Vaseline is hands down, one of the greatest diss records of all time. I'm so glad people do not forget about that record. Impact, bars, the matchup, right? We talked about Common going up against West Side Connection, where it's, 1-on-3. But West Side Connection was nowhere near as big as NWA. And just to punctuate it with one last comment, when I went to see the movie Straight Outta Compton, I knew No Vaseline was going to be covered because it was an essential part of their story. But I never thought, and I don't think I've ever experienced that in these type of, movies, biopics, right? Biopic or whatever you call it, where they play the entire song. They played the entire song. One of the greatest diss records of all time. Now, you already know. You know it's number 1. Some may disagree, but I don't care, because this is my list. Number 1, Nas Ether. All of those things I said about the takeover, I meant them. I truly felt that in the moment when I heard it. I was like, oh, party's over. Nostradamus was not good. I Am was and really not good for the most part. Really kind of forgettable. Nas might be done, y'all. That was the thought process. Illmatic, classic. It was written, classic. But this is a different day and time. This is the 2000s. Jay-Z is on top. He's the king of New York. There's no way Nas is coming back from that verse on the takeover. I felt that. I didn't even when I saw that Ether was out, I didn't believe that it could be anything that could bring him back for what Jay-Z just did with the takeover. Ether is one of the, or to me, the greatest diss song ever for a couple of reasons. And those reasons I gave you before I gave my list. Impact. The impact was ridiculous. Bars. The bars were there. The insults. The relatable commentary. Because that's what's kind of dope about some of these diss records. You hear them and you're like, I was thinking that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of what's being said in Ether was being said by some hip-hop fans. It just was. You know what lines I'm talking about. Eminem murdered you on you. When I first heard Renegade with Jay-Z and Eminem, me and my friends were looking at each other and we were huge fans of Jay-Z at the time, like, Eminem's bar is kind of better. Like, way better. And it was. And I don't want to hear the excuse, oh, it's his beat. But well, you ain't an MC if you can't, you are not an MC if you can't shine on your own album because someone else already made the beat and already wrote their verse. Your verse should be hot as a result. Right? But the timing of Ether was perfect. Perfect. Because we were waiting for a response from Nas. Again, I didn't really even have faith that it would be crazy. I started to think he probably won't respond to that. And when he did, I was sort of shocked. Because it was also Jay-Z's birthday. I pressed play on this thing, y'all. And at first, the setup is there. Brace yourself. I was like, okay, it sounds like, it feels and sounds like something big is going to happen, but I don't know because I haven't heard the bars yet. Were you abused as a child, scared to smile, they called you ugly? When life is harsh, hug me, don't reject me, or make records to disrespect me, blatant or indirectly. In 88, you was getting chased in your building, calling my crib, and I ain't even give you my number. Oh my God, you know what that does to a person? Now, we don't know if Jay-Z was getting chased to his building in 88. But calling my crib and I ain't even give you my number? Ooh, that sound like some groupies. Listen, man. Listen. Now, people like to say, oh, none of it was true. Yeah, whatever. You went from Kane to Irv to Big and Eminem. Anybody follow Jay-Z's career prior to Reasonable Doubt? He did go from Kane to Irv to Big. Dame Dash to Dame Dummy. Oh, I get it. You Biggie and he's Puffy. Man, listen. Listen, man, we're not even getting into it. We're not even getting into it, the bars. And this is not an Ether bonus episode. But again, timing, the bars, the impact, That record changed Jay-Z forever. Prior to that record, Jay-Z was unstoppable. He was so unstoppable that he would frequently say, "I will not lose." Not only does Nas drop this diss record, this monumental top of the hill in hip-hop history diss record on Jay-Z's birthday, but he uses Jay-Z's "I will not lose" slogan as part of an intricate hook. It's hip-hop, it's battle rap, and what makes it sting even more than that, Nas drops an album that makes you forget how bad Nostradamus or I Am was. Stillmatic, if you take one of those trash records off, in my opinion, is a classic. I am from New York City. I heard Ether while I was in Baltimore. I was hosting a hip-hop show. I did a poll. Everybody did a poll across the country, unanimously. When you asked Takeover versus Ether, unanimously, it was Ether. It was like people switched overnight. 1 minute Jay-Z's the king, next minute he is dethroned, because they're like, you may be the king of sales, but you're not better than Nas. Jay-Z said on the Takeover, "Your ish is garbage, what you trying to acknowledge?" Nas takes that line with a rebuttal. Ask me if I'm trying to kick knowledge. Nah, I'm trying to kick that issue need to learn though. That ether, that shit to make your soul burn slow. Come on, y'all. It was, people rediscovered Nas because of that record. Illmatic probably sold a couple of copies like, we forgot who he was. Jay-Z, for damn sure forgot who he was. But we never knew he had this in him. Ether, greatest hip-hop diss record of all time, in my opinion. That's gonna do it for me. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, all of it. TikTok, at Vegas World INC. And please know that this podcast is available everywhere you listen to the podcast. All you got to do is type in the search bar, Hip Hop Now Podcast. Hit that subscribe button and stay locked in. And if all of that is like, oh man, I don't know, man, I don't really use the phones. I don't really use technology. The link to everything I do, content-wise, right, is in the description of this episode. And a bonus for those listening to this episode, if you have Apple Music or Spotify, I have links in the description of this episode that go to playlists of what I think are some of the greatest diss records of all time. So not only my top 10, but a couple of other records throughout history. Except for the Pusha T joint, because that's only on SoundCloud, unfortunately. All right, y'all. Until next time, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.
Drop it on them random.